The Marlins head off to the West Coast. What do they have to do for the trip to be successful?
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Marlins. I'm your host, Jeremiah Geiger. I've been podcasting about the Marlins for almost 3 years now. So go hit me up over on X at Jeremiah Geiger 2. And thank you for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and leave a comment if you're on the YouTube channel. And on today's show, I'm going to talk about this road trip for the Marlins. They go to Seattle, literally the furthest possible city from Miami. And then they head to LA to take on the Dodgers. How can they find success against two very good ball clubs? Talk about the potential return of Eury and Ryan Weathers. Open up the mailbag. It's Friday, so the mailbag will be opened. Get to all of your questions, including talking about some potential roster ideas for the future. Got a few ideas that I'm going to talk to you about that will change the look of this team. Let's talk about this road trip first. The Marlins, coming off a series win, you have some momentum against the Cincinnati Reds, which is a decent team. Now you go to take on the first place Seattle Mariners at their place, and you face some real good pitching. The first key to this series, and this is the road trip in general, but especially the Seattle series, is when I look at the pitching matchups. You have to find a way to limit damage if you are the Marlins starters and get to their aces. Seattle has a great pitching staff. And you're going to face Logan Gilbert. You're going to face who's one of the best pitchers in baseball, probably top 5. Then you're going to face Luis Castillo, former Marlins farmhand, who you traded almost a decade ago. It's a really bad trade, by the way. Castillo went on to have a very solid career. Now, is he the same Luis Castillo as before? Probably not, but he's still very good, still capable of racking up a ton of strikeouts on any given night. So the Marlins have their work cut out for them. The Marlins starters, those first 2 games, when they face Gilbert and Castillo, Cal Quantrill and Connor Gillespie. Probably the 2 worst starters on the Miami Marlins. So I'm not going to pencil it as a loss. But right off the bat, the odds are stacked against you to win this series. The best chance on paper you have is Sunday's game. That's a day game. You have potentially Max Meyer on the mound if everything lines up. I believe he would take on Bryce Miller. But Cal Quantrill and Connor Gillespie have to give you a chance to win. That's the first key. You're not going to win a game in Seattle unless the bats are absolutely on fire if you're down 4-5-0. It's going to be a lot like that Philly game. And Seattle's bullpen is a lot better than Philadelphia's bullpen. Philly might have the worst bullpen in all of baseball, and that's what allowed Miami to make the game close and get back into the game in which they won on Easter Sunday. But Seattle's closer, Andres Munoz, is one of the best in the business. He's very shut down, hasn't allowed an earned run. So you don't want to get to that point. You don't want to get to the 8th or 9th innings and you're behind multiple runs or even down a single run. You want to take a lead in this game. So that's not going to happen if Cal Quantrill pitches like he's been pitching. If Connor Gillespie can't give you a solid outing and gets hit around the park. Starting pitching's been a weakness for Miami. I did not think that coming into this season. I thought that the depth was a concern, which to a degree has already affected the Marlins with Ryan Weathers being out, with Eury Perez still on the mend from Tommy John surgery. But I need to see something from Quantrill justify him being on this roster. Now, offensively, consistent hitting, timely hitting. You can't just rely on 1 or 2 guys. You have to go 1 through 9 through the lineup and get hits with runners in scoring position. The last game of that Reds series, it was really frustrating to watch because apart from that Mervis home run, and it was 2-1 Miami, you felt like, okay, here we go. The bats are going to be going here. And then they went scoreless for 8 innings. And now you face a really good pitcher in Gilbert. When you work your at-bats, you get on base, whether that's a base hit or a walk, and you are in scoring position. If you can get a runner into scoring position, you have to capitalize. That's the key when you're facing really good pitching. Because not just for the Seattle series, also in LA. Los Angeles is a really good team, in case you didn't know. The Dodgers have the best player on planet Earth in Shohei Ohtani. They have a really deep pitching staff. I'm not sure what the pitching matchups look like yet because that's still pushing into next week. But you're going to face some good arms. I really think the key, you got to jump ahead. You got to jump ahead early. You have to get enough out of your starters in order to give yourself a chance. 5-6 innings, turn it to the bullpen, and Clayton McCullough has to make good decisions. No George Soriano in a one-run game, even if you're down. I don't want to see Soriano pitch. I want to see Lake Bacher, Anthony Bender, Calvin Fauché. If you lose with Fauché, with Lake Bacher, even Tinoco, I want to see Tinoco in there too. Then I'll tip my cap. The Dodgers just are a really good team. The Mariners are a good team. But give yourself an opportunity to win the game. This is a mailbag question that I had here. A very frustrated fan. Dominicus. He says, McCullough arrested Norby, Sanoja, Ramirez on the same day. Bringing the infield in has not prevented a run from scoring twice, but has prevented 2 inning-ending double plays. What gives? This is another key. Play your best players and make smart decisions when you're managing this team defensively. This goes back to the Reds series. It was a one-run game. Reds were up 3-2. Elly De La Cruz, one of the fastest players in baseball, was on third base. There was a runner on first, and there was 1 out. The Marlins brought the infield in order to try to cut the run at home. It was a ball hit to Otto Lopez. He throws home. Elly De La Cruz scores. If the infield is back, the Marlins turn 2, get out of the inning, and they head to the bottom of the 8th, down a single run. I see where the Marlins and McCullough decided to go with the infield in, but if you do, you have to make that play. He has to be out, and you also have to know who's on the bases. Elly De La Cruz is probably the one guy in baseball, maybe apart from Chandler Simpson, who's a really fast runner for the Rays, who makes that happen. You could have turned a double play there. Also, that final game of the series, Connor Norby didn't play. Javier Sanoja didn't play, who had a 5 RBI game in Philly and was swinging the bat really well. And Agustin Ramirez didn't play when there was a day off. Thursday was the day off. It was a Wednesday getaway game, and none of them got in the game. It was almost like, we're going to give you 2 days off in a row. I don't know. I say go for it. Hopefully they play the entirety of the Seattle series. And the last thing I'll say when it comes to McCullough, when Ramirez does get a day off, now he's had 2 in a row. If he gets that Sunday, that game off, and he's catching Max Meyer, or he's scheduled to catch Max Meyer, I say leave him in there, but at least DH him. At the bare minimum, keep his bat in the lineup. I'm going to talk about the return of a couple other really good pitchers. Max Meyer's been great for the Marlins, but 2 of the Marlins' best starters have yet to appear in a game this season, and they're really good. Eury Perez and Ryan Weathers. I'm going to talk about them and their potential return and impact on this team right after this. Did you know your Fire TV is also an Xbox? Turn any TV into a gaming and entertainment hub with Fire TV Stick 4K devices. no console required. Just grab your paired controller, subscribe or sign into Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with EA Play included, and you're ready to play. Dive into hundreds of premium titles from EA Sports College Football 25, MLB The Show. You want to run some Marlins Dynasties over there, Black Ops 6. It's easy. It's as easy as you stream all your favorite shows. It's gaming made simple, and it's all on your Fire TV. With 4K streaming, you can watch more than 1.5 million movies and TV episodes from your favorite subscribe services such as Netflix, such as Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, HBO Max, and more. If you like gaming, if you're a hardcore gamer, you can share your experience with that. With the Fire TV stick, it changes everything. It's a portable stick that just lets you play your games in a convenient time and place. If you're on the road, maybe you fly to Seattle to go watch the Marlins and Mariners. You're in the hotel. You want to play some games. You want to crank up MLB The Show, or maybe you want to boot up some Offices, watch some new Black Mirror episodes over on Netflix. The Amazon Fire TV stick is your way to go. So head to amazon.com/Fire TV locked on to get started. Xbox Game Pass Ultimate subscription and compatible controller required. Available on select devices, including Fire TV Stick 4K, Fire TV Stick 4K Max, and Fire TV Cube. If you're an everyday listener, I do appreciate you being a part of the Locked On Marlins crew. If this is your first episode, make sure you subscribe. Thank you for tuning in. Leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts on the Marlins and this road trip and the return of Eury, Perez, and Ryan Weathers. Now, Eury hasn't appeared for the Marlins in a game since 2023. Late 2023. He wasn't a part of the postseason run. He was shut down. And then going into 2024, he unfortunately had some elbow discomfort that required Tommy John surgery. And he's been out ever since. It has been a long, long time since the Marlins have had Eury Perez pitch for them. One of the best young pitchers the Marlins have ever had. It come through their system, their organization. He's on his way back, though. Let's see. Ryan Weathers, also. He is very quickly. He's on his way back. It's going to be very quick. April 22nd, he was throwing. So this week, he was throwing a live BP at the Marlins Stadium. He was throwing a bullpen. He is somebody that is on his way to getting a rehab assignment very soon. Ryan Weathers had a great spring training. He looked really good. And it was a big blow to the Marlins when he couldn't pitch, when he goes down with the injury. That immediately was really disappointing for the beginning of this season. Because behind Sandy Alcantara, we didn't really know what the Marlins had. I thought Ryan Weathers could be that number 2. In fact, it's been Max Meyer who's been pitching like an ace. Sandy is still getting back into the swing of things, but Ryan Weathers would be that third pitcher for the Marlins that just gives your team an extra boost of confidence. I truly believe in Ryan Weathers. I think he can be an all-star when he's healthy. The key with Ryan has always been the health, even last season. He had a great first half, got injured, and just kind of faded away out of the memories of Marlins fans for the immediate time because he was on the injured list. But when he's healthy, he's really, really good. Who do they replace in the rotation when they come back? This comes from Sarcastic King. He says, who do you think Ryan Weathers will replace in the rotation once he returns? I think the easy answer to that is Connor Gillespie. Connor Gillespie, I talked about him needing a really quality start in Seattle for the team to have a chance. But overall, Gillespie just hasn't been... He hasn't been what the Marlins have really wanted from him. Gillespie has an ERA over 6 It's 6.75. It's pushing 7. I know the expectations were low, but anytime you're in a major league rotation, you need to pitch effectively to keep your job. And right now, Gillespie just isn't showcasing the stuff to justify him staying in the rotation long term. He's had opportunities, and he's going to have another opportunity against 6.75 ERA is just not going to cut it. Ryan Weathers, when he comes back, and I assume he will within the next 2-3 weeks, that's going to be the guy that I automatically assume gets sent down. Now, when it comes to Eury Perez, this comes from Nicholas Milton. Best case scenario of Eury and Ryan doing what they do when they come back and the bat's still finding ways to fight and perform. What would you say the Marlins finish record-wise? With the return of Eury Perez and Ryan Weathers, the Marlins do get better. They automatically get better. Their rotation automatically becomes stronger. How much will it matter in the long term? I think it matters quite a lot, actually. I think if the bats continue to be impressive, which is a very good possibility. The emergence of Kyle Stowers, that's real. Matt Mervis has been hitting home runs. We've still yet to see Jesus Sanchez hit a home run. Connor Norby is yet to really get going. And I know he will because he's super talented offensively. Those two guys can provide a jolt to this team. And you're going to have a couple series lineup in which you're going to have Ryan Weathers, Eury Perez, Max Meyer all pitch in the same series. Those are series you can win. Those are games that you're going to feel really confident in if you're the Miami Marlins. Now, record-wise, how much does it affect the fish? The low expectations for this team right now, they're still hovering around 500. The best case scenario with the return of them, and they pitch really, really effective, probably 75 wins, 77, right under that 80 win mark. I think if everything breaks right, now I want this team to make a complete surprise run and make the playoffs, sneak into a wild card. But realistically, I'm going to say 75, 77 wins is the absolute best case scenario for this team, apart from the wild card, which might be a bit of delusion on my part, but I'm going to continue dreaming. That's what a fan does. And anytime you win, if the Marlins win in Seattle, they take 2 out of 3. Maybe they take 2 out of 3 from LA. It's going to feel really, really good. But what I want to talk about Eury Perez and Ryan Weathers, the health concerns are still there. Eury Perez, anytime you come back from Tommy John surgery, it affects a pitcher. It affects pitchers in different ways. You're not necessarily going to see Eury Perez just come right out the gate when he comes back, whether that's in June or July, and be as dominant as he was his rookie season, because he's been out for 2 years. He's been rehabbing. He's undergone a huge career-altering surgery. So there's going to be a pitch count. There's going to be an innings limit. You do everything you can to protect Eury. You don't just throw him in the rotation and say, okay, give me 6-7 innings. You're the best starter we have now. You're the most talented starter. No. Take it easy with Eury Perez, especially in a year in which chances are the Marlins won't make the playoffs. They need Eury and they need Ryan Weathers to boost this rotation. But at the same time, you want to take care of those guys because they are 2 pieces of your rotation's future. Ryan Weathers, Eury Perez, and Max Meyer, those 3 guys I can confidently say have potential to be in Miami, make all-star games for many years to come. I think they're for real, all 3 of them. Don't rush their development or their return off injury for the present day. I don't think the Marlins will do that. I think they're smarter than that. There are some more roster ideas I have. I have some mailbag questions when it comes to guys coming up from the minor leagues, guys getting traded, competition on this team. What will the Marlins roster look like in the coming months? I'm going to talk about the potential changes for this team right after this. And if you're watching on YouTube, make sure you like, make sure you subscribe. But remember that anytime you're on the road, you're at the gym, you're doing whatever that takes away from being able to watch Locked On Marlins, the show is always on every single podcast platform out there, so you can listen on the go as well. Some roster ideas for the Marlins moving forward. Let's open up the mailbag. This is a really good question I had here from Victor. He says, I know it's good to have a lot of internal competition, and a lot of the guys are still in the minors or unproven over a full season, but who do you trade first if you need to free a spot on the team? So when I think free a roster spot, to me, that just means getting your young guys on the major league team and giving them opportunities to compete and play every day. The Marlins have a couple guys who are very close to being major league ready. We saw the call up with Agustin Ramirez. Davison De Los Santos, the reigning minor league home run king, is also in the minor league still, but he's close to making his debut. Where does he fit in? Where does Agustin Ramirez stick on this team? What is his role on this team? If he continues to hit, you can't justify setting him down. Do you carry 3 catchers? What do you do with first base and Davison De Los Santos if he continues to hit and stops chasing so much, continues to show improvement in that area of his game? He'll be ready for a call-up very soon. Who would get traded first? I don't necessarily know if there would be a trade to get Agustin Ramirez everyday playing time. But I do think with Davison De Los Santos, you look at Eric Wagaman and Matt Mervis. Connor Norby is going to be locked in at third base. That first base DH position really would come down to Matt Mervis, Eric Wagaman, and De Los Santos when he is here, when he gets up here. I think even though Wagaman's been hitting really well, if the Marlins want to get Davison De Los Santos playing time, you'd have decisions to make with Eric Wagaman. I also think when it comes to the outfield, in order to get Dane Myers, in order to get Kyle Stowers, and, well, Griffin Conine's been injured. Javier Sanoja is another guy that can play the outfield. Jesus Sanchez would have been my pick to get traded just because with the emergence of Conine and Stowers, it felt like Jeezy was kind of getting phased out of the Marlins' long-term plans. But with the injury, I don't necessarily know Sanchez they're in a rush to trade Sanchez because he's still a valuable piece of this team. It depends with the Conine injury, I think, with Sanchez. If Sanchez is healthy and he's performing, the Marlins will field trade calls on him. I talked with Jeff Carr from the Locked On Reds podcast about a potential Jesus Sanchez trade. I still think he'll be on the trade block, but he's not really blocking anybody in the minor leagues right now. Victor Mesa Jr., he's been injured. You have Sanoja, but he's a utility guy. I don't necessarily think you're going to play him every day in the outfield. Kyle Stowers and Dane Myers both, I think, should be playing every day until one of them doesn't perform. But Sanchez is fine right now. I still think there's going to be an opportunity to trade him, and they'll consider that option as well. I don't think the Marlins really have anybody they need to trade to get players playing time, because the trade value you have, let's take the catcher, for example. If you really want Augustin Ramirez to be your catcher of the future, which the eye test to me over the Cincinnati Reds series was fine, but defensively, he's still probably going to move to first base or DH with Joe Mack in AAA now and getting one step closer to the majors. Joe Mack is just a better defender than Augustin Ramirez is, and he's on his way to the major leagues soon, if not this year, certainly 2026. Do you trade Nick Fortes? There's really no value there. Jesus Sanchez is the only guy I could see getting traded just because, he's not going to be part of the Marlins' long-term plans, but it won't be because he's necessarily blocking somebody. This also ties into this roster configuration we're talking about. This is from Josh. He says, who do you think we'll see from AAA promoted in the next few weeks that hasn't been called up yet this season? So from AAA, De Los Santos is the name that stands out. He had a 4-hit game the other day in AAA. It all comes down to if the Marlins feel comfortable enough with his approach at the plate, if he can consistently not chase as much, not strike out as much. If the Marlins internally feel good about that, then De Los Santos could be a call-up. I don't know about in the next few weeks, but I do think he's the next offensive player that would get called up. Max Acosta is struggling right now in AAA. I'm not worried about him. He's in a little bit of a slump. I looked it up. It was about 1 for his last 18. It happens. It's early in the season. I still think the hit tool is good enough. The adjustments he made last year are good enough. But he's playing in AAA. He's showing that he needs a little bit more time before he gets called up. I don't think the Marlins are going to rush him up here in the next 2 or 3 weeks if he's going through a slump right now. The emergence of Eric Wagman kind of complicates things, like I talked about. If you want De Los Santos up in the next 2 or 3 weeks, you're going to have to make a move on the 40-man roster, and it wouldn't make sense to carry 3 first basemen, because right now Wagman will platoon against the lefties, or he'll DH. Matt Mervis will start against righties all the time, and they've been productive. But De Los Santos is your guy. He is somebody that you want to truly be part of your future. Eric Wagman, with all the respect in the world to him, I don't think he is somebody that the Marlins are planning to build around. So he is expendable, which makes me wonder if he does have a good first half and continues this hot streak, because I was done with him, but he completely flipped it. He turned it all around. Maybe the Marlins consider trading him while he's hot and get a couple intriguing arms, some low-level prospects, but that frees up a roster spot for De Los Santos. That might be closer on to the deadline, not necessarily in the next 2 to 3 weeks. I don't think you're going to see any big call-up here like the Augustin Ramirez one. The real question is, what will the Marlins do with Augustin Ramirez? With 3 potential catchers when Nick Fortes comes back. Do they move him back to AAA? Do they send him back down? I would be outraged. That should not happen. He should be a Marlin the rest of the season. Take his lumps in the major leagues. He'll struggle. But I really think what comes down to it, he's a part of your future. He already has 3 doubles. He's shown his hit tool in the major leagues already. Now, will he struggle this season? Sure, he's going to have his ups and downs, but the talent is evident. I do want to see some call-ups from the bullpen. I've talked about this in the bullpen, how Clayton McCullough is very... He fluctuates between how he uses his bullpen. I want to see Josh Eknes, I want to see Josh Simpson all get an opportunity here, because I think they're electric arms. And I think the Marlins right now are lacking a little bit of electricity in the bullpen. Lake Bacher is the most electric arm the Marlins have. I think he's for real. Calvin Fauché has had his struggles. He's had his ups and downs, but I still like the ceiling for Fauché. Now, behind them, we're running a lot of Tyler Phillips, those middle relievers, Ronnie Enriquez. We're seeing George Soriano get opportunities. I don't want to see Soriano. I'd much rather have somebody like Josh Eknes, who has a 100-mile-an-hour, 99-mile-an-hour fastball and can strike a ton of people out. Josh Simpson throws hard, has a nasty slider. He's a lefty too. Anthony Veneziano hasn't been the best out of the pen. He doesn't have the best stuff. He's the only lefty the Marlins are carrying right now. So I'd like to see some bullpen pieces reinforce this Marlins team from AAA. Last question. This isn't about the roster, but it's a fun one. Quincy says, the Marlins almost swept the Reds. Do you think the Marlins will get a sweep in 2025? If so, what series and how many are you predicting? Well, looking at the schedule, the Marlins, it's tough to get sweeps. It really is. You had a good opportunity against Cincinnati. You couldn't get it done. It's not the end of the world, but I'm looking at a couple weeks from now, you play the White Sox. That is the opportunity to get a sweep. I don't know if you're going to sweep any of the NL East teams. I don't see the Marlins sweeping the Mets or the Braves. It could happen, but chances are it doesn't. But that White Sox series, I think you could. Remember, there's a ton of teams out there that are still out-talenting the Marlins in terms of what they have in the lineup, what they have in the pitching staff, and that's okay. The Marlins have to play their game. They have to continue believing and fighting for each other, and they're going to win games. But it's hard to predict a sweep. But the White Sox are really bad. I think the Marlins, if the pitching lines up and you get some good starts, you absolutely have a chance to sweep that series. That's going to do it for today's edition of Locked On Marlins. Really quick, before I get out of here, this West Coast trip, it's late nights, so stay up to watch these guys. But the podcast is going to be out at 10 in the morning like it was today, 10 Eastern time. For your second listen of the day, go check out the new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game from every night's over on the Locked On MLB channel. And with that, guys, stay safe, stay locked on, and let's go fish.